Man, just wow. Just want to thank everybody. Want to thank the College Football Hall of Fame for putting on this spectacular event. You know, it was quick to notice as soon as you pulled up that football season's on us. And man, I want to thank you all for coming out and having an interest in the Arkansas Razorbacks. I've bumped into several of you in the hallway that I've seen from some of my prior stops, and I look forward to catching up and shaking your hand. I'm just excited to be here and to be a part of the SEC Media Days. It means so much to me and my family that we would be put in a position and put on a platform to be able to impact lives in the manner that which we do. And man, when you get to these media days at this point, I remember previous stops that once the SEC Media Days started coming on TV, you know football season was right on you. It was the kickoff of the season. And man, I'm excited to watch our guys compete, and I know we'll talk about that throughout the course of the day. My family and I are honored to be a part of the University of Arkansas and the great storied tradition of Razorback football from Razorbacks past, present, and future. And it is truly an honor to be the head football coach there and be a part of the Razorbacks and be surrounded by all the great players and coaches that are a part of these media days. Again, it's an honor that we take and excited about. It's been 223 days since we started, and since we got to Fayetteville, since the plane landed, and a lot of things have happened between then and now. And there's a lot of similarities from some of my previous stops as we build this program moving forward and taking on the blueprint to turn this program around into a championship caliber team. The alumni and the fans, the entire state has welcomed us with open arms. The passion for the Hogs, for the Razorbacks, for the university, I thought I knew. I had no clue until I traveled around our great state and to hear the stories that have been told and been able to listen to and share with me their special place in their heart for the Razorbacks. Arkansas football has had a storied past, and we're going to work daily. With a national championship of 1964, we're going to work daily to build on and restore the traditions for the Razorbacks of the past, the Razorbacks of the present, and the Razorbacks of the future. And we got a long way to go. Make no mistake about it. But I've been extremely impressed with Trumaine Carroll, our head strength coach, and his staff, and what they've done in the 223 days that we've been there and transforming our players to where we are at this point in time today. Again, I look forward to watching these guys as we kick this season off in the next few weeks. The three players that we have with us here today are fabulous. They're great players. More importantly, they're great men. They're great leaders and great students. And I know you're going to enjoy your time today getting to know each and every one of them. Offensive lineman Hjalte Froholt from Denmark is scheduled to graduate in December, a leader in our offensive line. Linebacker Dre Greenlaw, a young man from Fayetteville High School and from our state, a local young man that is also scheduled to graduate in December, one of the leaders in our defensive unit at linebacker. And in defensive back, Santos Ramirez, a graduate Santos Ramirez, which I'm extremely proud to announce. He'll be wearing the graduate patch, the SEC patch on his jersey this year. Excited about that. So our staff over the last 223 days have been busy recruiting, hitting the ground full speed ahead, developing our culture, and developing these young men into what we want to turn this program around. And we're looking for guys that want to be their best. That's it. Because best is our standard. And every aspect of our program is geared toward developing these young men into becoming the best they can be. And that's all I ask. I'm asked to give you my absolute best today, and that's what we ask of each and every one of our players, to be the best they can be each and every day. And that's how we're going to build this program. I've said it before, but the time is now and the place is here. Fayetteville, Arkansas is a special place. I've had an opportunity to watch several games there as a fan, and to see the fan base, to watch the excitement level. And now that we're enclosed in the north end zone complex and getting it completed, I look forward to making that one of the toughest places to play in all of college football. Offensively, Joe Craddock's our offensive coordinator, one of the bright young minds in all of college football. Offensively, we'll be fast-paced. We'll be up-tempo. We want to be a two-back, run-oriented first football team, taking play-action shots down the field. But I also know this, that being a high school coach for as long as I have, sometimes you got to adapt to what you have. And so that'll be the coaching. That'll be the interesting part as this season unfolds. Defensively, John Chavis. When I got the job, I had one phone call that I made, and it was to John Chavis. And reached out to Chief, and having played against Chief, as a matter of fact, here in Atlanta, in a bowl game, and knowing the difficulty in preparing for his style of defense, excited me. I want to be multiple. I want to be aggressive. And I want to put pressure, and I want to disrupt the quarterback. And that was what I was looking for. And Coach Chavis came to mind right off, and I'm excited about him. As I shared with him, I said, Coach Chavis, I believe I can help you in your career, because if you can defend me and defend our offense, you can defend a lot of people across the country. And I believe that he has things of value that help our offense, and we've got things to help our defense grow as the game of football continues to change. Special teams, Tanner Burns is our special teams analyst, and each and every coach has a special teams responsibilities, but we all know the value of special teams with the rules that are changing now on the kickoff return and kickoff. It will be interesting to see how the strategy unfolds. So I'm excited about that. But special teams is nothing more than a mindset. And it's a mindset that these units will win you football games. And the emphasis that are placed on these units each and every day are reserved for only those guys that want to be elite. So we're going to be aggressive and on the cutting edge in all aspects of our game. And we have a great group of young men in our locker room that have looked and worked extremely hard, and locking arms with a brand new coaching staff and buying into a culture, and look forward to locking arms with the greatest fan base in college football and calling the Hogs in the greatest state to become one Arkansas. And that's my goal, is to become one Arkansas and everybody come together, because that's truly what it's going to take, is for us to unite and come together and to get this program back to where it needs to be. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We have Amanda, Victoria, and Jean-Louise that will get a microphone to you. So we'll go ahead and start down up front here on the left with Tom.
Hey, Chad. Tom Murphy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. The expectations that you're going to have for this team, I think a lot of the magazines and probably from here might put you last in the SEC West. Just how will you deal with that with your team, and what are your expectations? You know, Tom, and I've been asked that, the expectations. And, no one's going to put any more higher expectations on this program than I am. And, whether we're picked to finish first or finish last is irrelevant at this point in time. As the way I've looked at it, nobody's played a snap yet. And there's a lot to prove. One thing that is I've shared with our players, because we've heard it, and our players have heard it. You can't help but not to hear it. Is how hungry is this football team going to be because of it? And we got a lot of returning starters, a lot of returning lettermen, and that experienced the season that they had last year. And I've said it before, and 4-8 is not acceptable. It's not acceptable whoever the coach is. And regardless of that. And so these young men have had to feel that. They've had to have that bitter taste in their mouth. And it's something that they've worked extremely hard about. So those that pick, they don't understand what's happening inside that locker room and the development of these young men. And that, Tom, is what excites me.
Coach, we'll go over to our right, about 3 rows back. Go ahead.
Brent Zorneman, Houston Chronicle. How special is it that you're coaching in the same division as your alma mater, and do you like the idea of playing the Aggies in Arlington every year?
Well, first of all, from just being a high school football coach, being a high school football coach and to be set here on this stage in the SEC, There's a lot of high school coaches out there right now that are watching. And they're saying, you know what, if that guy can do it, I want to do it. And so for me to have the platform as a high school coach to represent the high school coaches all across the country, regardless of what state, because I've recruited across this entire country, and to see the phenomenal high school coaches and to know that, man, there's an opportunity that one day I could be there. One day I could coach in the SEC. I could be on that stage as a head football coach. That excites me. Being from the state of Texas and, you know, playing the teams that we play, we got a lot of teams to play before we get to the one in Arlington. And so we're going to focus first and foremost on the Arkansas Razorbacks and becoming the best we can be every day. And I'm excited regardless where we play. That's just who I am. And if you know me, and obviously you probably do from my high school background, and I'm just excited about the opportunity to impact lives. And coaching football is what we do, but it's not who I am.
Coach, we'll go back over here to the left on the third row.
Hey, Aaron Reese with the Kansas City Star. As you've gotten to know the program a little bit, know people around it and the fans, I'm curious, do you get a sense of who Razorback supporters view as their rival in the league?
Who our rival is?
Yeah, who would you view it as?
Well, right now, I would say our biggest rival is the Arkansas Razorbacks. You know, and that's been my mindset pushing forward each and every day. You know, we talk about the team right now that is capable of defeating us or ourselves, and it's our actions and how we approach each and every day, and it's a choice. And I know I may sound like I'm giving coach speak, but this is truly how we live, and this is how we operate and how we build this program, is being the best we can be. Now, I do know that there's several trophies that we have, and we play several trophy games. And one is played in Arlington, and the other is a battle line between the two states. And so, you know, I'm excited about that. We've got, I think there's three trophies we're playing for. And so apparently there's a lot of rivalries, but, you know, I know that we got a rivalry coming up on the very first game of the year that we better be focused first and foremost on and be ready to play. So we'll get to those. I'm sure I'll continue to hear more and more. As I traveled the state, everybody has their own rival. And each rival tells me, and you know, if you'll just beat this team, this is who we're rival with. And I said, well, wait a minute, I thought that was who we were rivaled with. And well, if you beat this one, a lot of sins will be forgiven, Coach, if you'll do this for us. And I just, you know, hey, look, let's just focus on being the best we can be one day at a time.
Coach, we'll go straight in front of us, 4 rows back. Trey.
Hey, Coach. Trey Biddy with Hog Sports, 24/7 Sports. I think one of the reasons for low expectations from the media side of things is uncertainty at the quarterback position. Where are you right now with the quarterback battle? How do you plan on determining who's going to be the quarterback? How things have gone in the summer also? Yeah,
you know, Trey, one of the things that, and if I knew the answer to the quarterback you know, scenario that we have working right now, believe me, we would put it out there and let y'all run with it, but we don't. But what I do know is this. This is what I do know about our quarterbacks. I do know that when we walked off the field on that snowy, sleet, cold, rainy, sunshine day and at our spring game there in Little Rock, I do know this, that the development of the quarterback was going to be determined from that day to the start of fall camp. And all great quarterbacks that I've been associated with and been around have all grown more in the time of summer development to where they're placed in a leadership position and they're placed in a role to whether young men are going to gravitate to them and be led by them through summer workouts when it's their skills and drills which led on their own. And so, so we'll see. I've met with several of them, or we've met with all of them, but I know that we're going to have a great competition going on, which is healthy. It's healthy at all positions, and I'm excited. And once we do name one, it doesn't mean that you sign a lifetime contract. There is no lifetime contract at the quarterback position, and so it's a continuous battle every day. But we fully anticipate naming one for sure at some point in time during fall camp. But I'm excited about these guys. They've really each one of them is worked on their craft in a way, their weakness that they needed to through the course of summer.
Okay, we'll go to the front row on the left, Bob.
Hey, Chad. Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Hey, you got the news a while back that Kevin Richardson's going to get a 6th year of eligibility. How good was that? What does that mean for your defense?
You know, Kevin Richardson was, I believe K-Rich came to this last year as a leader. And so there was a lot of uncertainty through the course of winter. And there for a while, he was unable to work out with us. And then he gets cleared to start working out, and still we didn't know his certainty till late into spring. And, you know, just to watch that young man lead, even though he didn't, Bob, he didn't know if he was going to be cleared to play or not, and still watch him interact with his teammates, you knew this young man was special. And now that, after knowing him like I do now, and watching him transform from the summer, or through the summer, and listening to him to speak yesterday in a team meeting, resonated with everybody. When he speaks, people listen, and he's got that charisma about him that's very exciting. He is a leader, and he's got a great future, whether when his football career is over, in leading people, and leading men and women, because that's what he is. And I'm excited. I'm excited about his experience that he's bringing back to this defense.
Which will go over to our right, near the back.
Josh Vitale, Opelika Auburn News. I know you've had a relationship with Gus Malzahn dating back to your high school days. What has that relationship meant to you in your career? And what's it like being a SEC head coach in the same division as him now?
Yeah, well, it's let me go way back. And absolutely, Gus and I have had a relationship going back to the very early 2000s. And I consider him a very dear friend for 364 days a year. And you know, we've played against each other before, and but he's been very instrumental into me standing on this stage today. And so from a time way back, from a high school football coach that had been successful and had fallen on a bad year and needing to look at the change that was happening in football, and to reach out to someone that didn't know me and I didn't know him, and him to lend a helping hand to me, really allowed me to continue to progress my career. And since then, he and I have been friends. We've talked ball every year, and I definitely consider him and his wife Christy, Paula, and I consider them very dear friends, and have helped me get to where we are today. And you know, I'm excited for his career, and I'm excited for the matchup. Obviously, being in the same division, but it's it's unique. This is a fraternity. It's a great fraternity, and you get to really interact. And that one time a year, you get to go against each other.
Okay, we'll go over here to the left in the middle.
Hi, Coach Moritz, Brody Marino, Red RCFB. Obviously, you're well renowned for your high school coaching career, but during that same time, I understand that you were also a teacher. I'm just curious to say, what was your experience, doing that, and how has that really kind of transferred to recruiting and in the locker room, obviously?
Well, let's start first with being a teacher. Outside of my mom and dad influencing my life, and I know they're watching today, I wouldn't be where I am today without a high school coach and teacher impacting my life, and touching my life and seeing something in me that others didn't see, and pushing me on beyond my limits. And so impacting my life to get into to teaching and teaching math. I majored in math, minored in statistics, and being able to go in and teach math and impact lives is critical. I do not believe there's such thing as a great coach and not a good teacher. I think as you look across our country and you look at the high school coaches that impact lives, we're in a society right now that is so needs so many male figures to impact lives, and high school coaches are where it's at, and teachers are where it's at. And to know that our teachers out there, and for me to be able to say that and stand in front of you and say that I've proudly been a teacher and proudly been a high school coach, and proudly to say that my wife was a teacher for 16 years. And so teaching is what we do, and we teach every day. We impact lives, we teach every single day, and that doesn't change whether you're in the classroom or out of the classroom. And so that is a great profession and a great question. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go back down here to the left. Tom, first row.
Tom.
Question. When you were studying for your mathematics degree, matriculating at A&M, how were you loving football at that time? And then how did you make the transition from being the teacher to being a football coach?
Yeah, you know, really it started, I was going to get in the actuarial field. That's what I was going to do. And I'd taken a series of actuarial exams. And my wife and I got engaged, and I said, you know, I wanted to, you know, what can I do to continue to take these exams and still impact lives, and what can we do? And I knew that there was a shortage of math teachers. And so I reverted straight back to my math teacher, which so happened to coach me, and I modeled my teaching after the way he taught me. And so that's how I got in it, and I always got into it thinking that I very well may get out of the business, but every time that something would come up, the kids, the players, and that we were teaching and coaching would just say, Coach, this is you're making a difference. This is incredible, you know, what you're teaching us, and not just me, but our staff, and so that's and I just kept coming back that this is what God's called me to do and where to be.
We'll go all the way to the back, straight ahead.
Coach Morris, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. I wanted to ask you about a member of your coaching staff. He's been with you all the way back to the Clemson days. He was a high school star for a legend, Fred Yancey, at Briarwood Christian, and he was a great player at Middle Tennessee and has transitioned into the coaching fraternity. What did you see in Joe Craddock that made him special? And also talk about your offensive philosophy. You're known as an up-tempo guy, and just talk about Joe Craddock's impact on your program and what you expect to do offensively at Arkansas.
Well, you know, let me start with talking about Joe. And you know, Joe Craddock is as I mentioned earlier, one of the bright young minds in college football. And when he got to us in Clemson, when Coach Sweeney hired him, and he basically started out sweeping the weight room floors. He and our offensive line coach, Dustin Fry, started that, and they worked their way up. And I knew he had something to him when one of our very first offensive meetings, when it was over with, we talked, and he didn't say anything. He sat over at the corner and he didn't say anything. And that's a lot of young guys, young analysts or young GAs that get in this business. They sit and they listen. There's a lot of people that have been in this business a long time that know. And if you'll listen, you'll learn. But when it was over with and the guys walked out, I remember he and I walked out the door together, and he said, Coach, I want to ask you a couple questions about ball. And we started talking, and you know, for 5 minutes led to an hour, and we're on the board in there, and he's drawing up some things, and we're talking. I said, man, this guy's got something to him. I want to see how he responds to players, how he reacts, how when something goes wrong, how does he develop himself, or how does he continue to grow and handle the tough situations. And then it just one thing, it just continued to grow, and Joe was part of our game planning, and I trusted him more every day. He helped me with the quarterbacks, and I knew he had a great you know, storied past in Alabama and coaching and playing and high school ranks and obviously Middle Tennessee. And you know, this guy is he's on cutting edge. He and I think very, very similar. And you have to. You've been together 7 years. He and I work together and call into plays. He calls the plays, but he and I are constant communication. But you know, I am excited about that. And offensively, we're going to be who we are. I mean, that's what we do. We're going to be a very fast-paced two-back, motioning in and out of structure, changing the tempo. Tempo at times is a buzzword that's used to think that you just go fast the whole time, when truly tempo is the ability to change the pace of a game. Go fast, huddle up a little bit, maybe break a huddle fast, maybe go slow, check the sideline. That's the ability to change the tempo of a game. And talking to defensive coordinators, they would much rather you play one speed, whether it's all fast or slow or huddle. Play that same speed the whole game. You work in their favor, but your ability to change the tempo causes people problems. And so, and that's who we're going to be. And we'll continue to evolve with the personnel that we have. Again, being a high school coach, you have to do that. we'll continue to play to our players' strengths.
All right, we've got time for a couple more. We'll start with Trey there.
Hey, Coach, Trey Biddy with Hog Sports again. Kind of a two-parter. There's been a lot of changes the last couple of years with rules and recruiting, and I was wondering your thoughts. Do you think the rules have been beneficial with moving the calendar up so much in the dead period we're currently in? And then also on that, with red shirts being allowed to play 4 games, how do you plan to implement that, or is it just very experimental for you right now?
I'm going to start with the last question there, Trey. I love the red shirt. I really do. I think it shows the development of these young men to where that maybe they're not ready early on, but you continue to keep them in the mix. You keep their interest. Sometimes when guys find out that they're red-shirted early on, in the past they've kind of lost their focus, and all of a sudden an injury happens, and late in the year this young man's got to try to reel it back in, and he can't get there mentally. Where now it allows us to have these guys intact and to play them, and if they're not ready early on, in which we would never put a player on the field if they weren't mentally and physically ready to play in this league. And it may not happen early on for a true freshman, but it might later in the year. So I'm excited about that. And, so I do feel that the way the recruiting has changed with the early signing period, a year from now, when I come back in and be able to address that same question with early signing period, I'm probably going to be very much in favor of it. But being a transition, one of the 6 coaches, I believe, that was part of the transition of the change of coming into a new place and signing a class on December 20th, it was awful. I mean, it was hard. You're trying to build a 2-year relationship in 20 minutes in a coach's office with a young man, and usually that player that you had to wind up pulling out of a review that may be getting ready for his final exam, or you're going into an in-home visit that a young man's preparing for final exams, and you're trying to give your whole spiel in 20 minutes at a dinner table, and you didn't have the luxury of the entire year of building that true relationship. So that was tough. I'm not gonna pull any punches about that. It was very difficult from a coaching change, but I look forward to, as we're developing into our next class, having those relationships sound and solid and be able to sign a great class.
Coach, we'll take one final question over to our left on the front row.
Coach Rod Walker with the New Orleans Advocate. What have you seen in Dejon Harris, and what does he bring to the defense?
Yeah, Ron, very outgoing, very much outspoken, and is not acceptable or not accepted with what happened last year. Takes on a lot of responsibility. Very accountable young man that is not going to be satisfied with being average, nor is he going to allow people around him to be average. A very versatile player. Now, I will tell you that, a player that can play multiple positions. He's a football player. I mean, that's what he is. He's just a really good football player that's got a great future ahead of him. And we talk all the time about just building your own house, just staying focused and working every day to be the best you can be to get to where you want to get to. How's that going to happen? You got to work today. And he does that, and he models that. And I'm excited about watching that young man compete, as well as all our players, but watching him compete this year and set the standard for Razorback football.
All right, Coach Morris, welcome to the SEC, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you all.